Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I am Neva and this is my cozy corner of the internet. So hello, we are starting a new weekly vlog. So this vlog is going to actually be a little over a week because it's going to be our first full week. I think it's going to be like 9 days or something. But we are starting a new challenge on this channel. I already made like a little announcement video about what readathon and challenges I'm going to be doing in November. But this challenge is 75 day booked or 75 booked. This is a challenge that was created by, I believe her name is Emily Page Books. I will have her link down below. She created this challenge based off of the 75 hard challenge, which is a workout challenge. But this is for bookish people. So I have some notes over here because I did make my own little graphic. My rules for this are slightly different than her rules. So her rules, or I'm sorry, the original rules are slightly different than the rules I'm going to read to you. But the premise, the point of this is still the same. What is going on? Okay, for some reason, my book journal is not open. Okay, so I'm going to open up my book journal and we're going to go over everything. Because we're going to talk about 75 booked. So I made my own little graphics for this. I will try to pop it up over here, but there is a post that I made over on my, anyway, there is a little post that I made over on, where did I make it? I made it over on Instagram if you want to look at that. So let's go over my checklist for 75 day booked. So I am are supposed to do 2 45-minute reading sessions. I am keeping this as a regular rule for this challenge because that's kind of the point of this. So in 75 hard, I believe you do 2 45-minute workouts and one has to be outside. For 75 booked, we are doing 2 45-minute reading sessions, and I am saying that one cannot be audio. So I am going to attempt to do hard mode for this, and I'm going to attempt to do both sessions with no audio. But if for some reason I cannot do one of the sessions without audio, then I'm allowed to do one session with audio if, say, I want to diamond paint or something like that, and I've run out of time. But 2 45-minute reading sessions, 1 no audio. I need to drink 2 30-ounce cups of water. So this is the cup that I am using. This is my Hydro Jug tumbler, and this is 32 ounces, I do believe. Let me double check before I lie to y'all. Yes, 32 ounces. So I want to drink 2 of these in the day. Now, I believe on Emily's, she said that she has to drink that her rule is to drink 1 during each session. I just want to drink 2 in a full day. I hope that makes sense. But I'm going to try to drink as much water as I can while I'm actually just sitting here and reading, especially since one of my sessions I'm going to try to do in the morning and one I'm going to do in the evening. Then I need to log all progress into my book journal. I need to log it into my book journal by checking off the checklist. I made like a little checklist for myself, so I need to check off everything on the checklist, and I also need to log I have a section in my book journal on each page where I log the percentage of the book that I got to, and then the pages that I read. Storygraph does figure this out for you based off of the percentages that you stick into the app. So when I read an ebook and I don't have the physical book with me, I do not track pages. I track it by percentage. So because of that, Storygraph will figure it out for you. And so that's what I will be doing. I'll be plugging it into Storygraph and then using that to convert the pages. But I will also be logging it into Storygraph. I also will be logging it on my graphic that will go up at the end of each week over on Instagram. So I will actually be logging it in 3 different places, but the most important place for me to log it is actually in my book journal, because I could always go back and log, make my graphic and stuff like that. So I just need to make sure I'm logging in my book journal every day. And then my last rule for myself is to utilize Libby and Hoopla instead of purchasing. So this isn't so much a hard thing for me with physical books, but it is with audio. Audible gets me sometimes because they will discount the audio version of a book if you have downloaded it from Kindle Unlimited or you have actually purchased it. And sometimes I fall into this trap. Now, my partner does buy me books, so I'm not going to count any books that he purchases for me against myself, but I do want to utilize Libby and Hoopla, especially for my audios, instead of just purchasing the audios. The exception to this is if I choose to go in and use a credit from Libro FM, and I'm only giving myself an exception for that because it directly donates and helps my local indie bookstore. And so that is the only reason that I am allowing myself that. But I do not purchase from Libro FM all that often, mostly because I don't always have credits with Libro FM. So there's that. So those are my, I guess we have 5 or 6 rules here. Those are the things that I'm doing. So I am going to go do my first 45 minutes of reading. I am reading The Last Mrs. Parrish, and I am about 10% in. So we're going to see how far into this I can get in the next 45 minutes. And then I will come back. I will let you know how far I got, and we will talk about what my second 45 minutes is going to look like for today, because I'm not sure yet what that will look like. So, okay, I'll see y'all in a little bit. Hello friends, happy Sunday and happy day 2 of 75 booked. So I'm just going to give a little overview of what I did yesterday for 75 booked and what today is looking like so far. I will say I'm not committing to vlogging every single day for the next 75 days. I don't think that that's a possibility, but you are going to get weekly check-in vlogs for this. So I will be at least vlogging a couple of days a week for each vlog. I hope that makes sense. So if you see a bunch of days all together, like if I come in on we'll say day 10, and I update for like days 8 and 9 as well, that's just how the filming worked. I just did 60 days of everyday vlogging every single day, and I'm a little burnt out on that, so I'm just going to vlog when I feel like vlogging, but I wanted to at least come in and give an update for yesterday and for today. So yesterday I did do both of my 45-minute sessions, so I read about 20 pages in the first session and 30 pages in the second. I am a relatively slow reader, so how much I can read in 45 minutes to an hour is really dependent on distraction, when I'm doing all of that. So there's that. I did not do any audiobooking yesterday, so all of the reading I did was purely with my eyeballs. I did utilize Libby/Hoopla because I am reading The Last Mrs. Parrish, and I have that borrowed from the library. I need to see how many days I have left on that loan, because it did send me a thing saying that it was going to go back, but usually they do that at 3 days. So I should have enough time to finish it. And then I drank both of my cups of water. I'm using my hydro jug, like tumbler. It looks like this. So I drank both bottles of water yesterday as well. So today I have drank 1 whole bottle of water. I'm working on my second, and I have started my first 45-minute session, but I've only read about 10 minutes of it. So that is that. Yeah, currently I am sitting here diamond painting. I have a lot of chronic pain in my hip today, and so I'm trying to be sitting up to kind of stretch the muscle out, but it is pretty painful. But yes, I'm diamond painting. I'm working on my Loki painting. I will pull out Scooby-Doo at some point this week, probably tomorrow. But that is where I'm at. That's where I'm at. So I'm going to diamond paint for a little while and finish watching this Whip and Chat that I have on. And then I probably will do my 45 minutes, a little bit more of it before Ari gets home from her friend's house. And then I will probably finish it out later tonight before I go to bed. So that is kind of where we are. For Monday through Friday, my plan is to read right away for 45 minutes when I get up in the morning. So in my bed, basically, read for 45 minutes and then read for 45 minutes sometime in the evening, probably right before I go to bed. Saturday and Sunday is going to be kind of a toss-up. I may have to combine both reading sessions into an hour and a half, but I feel like as long as I'm getting that hour and a half of reading done, I'm still going to count it as successful. So that is where we are. I'm going to go, and I will be back either tomorrow or in a couple of days to update you again.
Hello friends, I am just doing a really quick phone update, so sorry if I'm not looking in the right direction or whatever. It's always weird doing phone updates for me, but I wanted to come do a quick phone update while I cook some lunch. So I'm making some like broccoli Velveeta because Ari is at school, obviously. So happy Monday, hello. Should have said that first, but I wanted to come and give a little bit of an update. So I grabbed the Last Mrs. Parrish from Hoopla. I grabbed it from Hoopla as an audiobook because I have it from Libby as a physical or as an ebook. So I decided this morning to jump between. I was a little bit behind with yesterday's reading. I had about 10 minutes that I needed to finish for yesterday's this morning, which is okay. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I know that the weekends are going to be a little bit harder for me, so I'm just going to have to figure out what my stride is when it comes to Saturday and Sunday, because Saturday and Sunday are dedicated like family days, and so I kind of have to figure out what my stride is with Saturday and Sunday. But I did my first 45 minutes this morning, so that is what counts for my audio for the day. I'm only allowing myself one audio session a day as far as like for this challenge. Of course, like after my challenge is over or whatever, I can listen to as much audio as I want, but I can only count one of those sessions as like, yeah. So grab The Last Mrs. Parrish. I will probably finish it tomorrow, maybe. I'm going to read it physically or ebook, whatever. For me, ebook is physical. I'm going to read it on my Kindle up until Libby takes it away. Now I know I can do like the hack or whatever. I'm not gonna bother because I do have it as an audiobook, so I'm going to just go ahead and just read it as long as I can physically, and then when Libby comes in and takes it away from me, I will finish it via Hoopla. I am gonna have to do a spin for the next book, so we're gonna do that after I eat lunch. I'm gonna grab some b-roll probably of me of like what I do when I eat lunch. So I take a dedicated lunch break, so I do not sometimes I'll diamond paint, but I do not read or listen to an audiobook or do any worky things. So today we're gonna watch Sister Wives while I eat, so I will get some like b-roll of that. I don't know if anyone cares, but I will get some b-roll of that. And then we're gonna spin for our next book because I have a bunch of TBR books, but I also have ARCs. So we're gonna spin. Basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be picking an ARC that I read. Why is that cabinet open? But I'm going to be picking an ARC that I will read on my Kindle. I don't have any e-ARCs, or I don't have any ALCs, so I don't have any audiobooks that I got as ARCs. They're all physical books, or ebooks, I'm sorry, but they're all ebooks. So we're gonna do that, and then I will also pick a book off of my TBR that I'm going to be reading as well. For ARCs for this month, basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the oldest ARC that I have and make my way through with my TBR books. I'm going to put them on a spinner wheel. I think they're already on a spinner wheel, and I'm just going to spin. And we're going to see what book we get. Dependent on what the book is for, some of them I may be doing an immersion read thing. However, I am counting immersion reading because I have to actually look at the book with my eyeballs. I'm not counting that against my audiobook time. It's only when I'm just listening to audiobook and like diamond painting or something else. So I'm going to finish up cooking my lunch, and then I will be back to spin for a new book.
Hello friends, I am back. We took Ari to her actual activity and then she had a play date today. So I've just gotten home from doing all of that. But earlier I said that we were going to go ahead and spend for a new book. So that is what we were going to do. But I am going to tell you first what arc I'm going to be reading for my first arc of November. So in November, I do NetGalley November. I'm not doing this. There is like an actual event for this, like a readathon. I don't think I'm going to do that. They do have a bingo board, which is usually what I would choose if I was going to do it. However, because I'm already doing, what am I doing? I'm doing Bucket Listathon. And I'm also doing my 75 book challenge. I just think that it's a lot to ask myself to also do NetGalley November as an event. So we are actually going to go in right now, and I forgot that I actually need to roll. Yes, I do. I have not actually rolled. So my first book of November is, like, my first finish will probably be The Last Mrs. Parrish. I do still have about 25 minutes of reading time for The Last Mrs. Parrish, but I am going to that will be my first finish of the month. So we actually need to go ahead and roll for Bucket Listathon. That's what we need to do. So I'm going to pull up the game board so that we can roll. You're not going to see me do the roll. I actually should have done this earlier off camera, but I didn't think about it. So I'm going to use a 6-sided die. I did a video explaining how I was going to do Bucket Listathon this year. So Danny does give us hard mode and easy mode. However, I am just going to use the game board as a game board. You can do hard or easy mode, of course, but I am going to just use it as a game board, and we're just going to start on a side, and that's what we're going to do. So what I have here is a 6-sided die. If I roll anything, if I roll higher than a 4, then I will start on the 4th quadrant. So there's no start or finish point on this game board. There are just 4 corners. There's 4 quadrants. So I actually have it pulled up on my phone and on my iPad. I actually have it pulled up on my iPad like in my reading journal, because that's how we're going to be playing. So give me 1 second. I'm just pulling that up. So that I have it. Here it is. Okay, so I have the game board pulled up in my reading journal. I actually have it sideways in my reading journal just so that I can take up the most real estate in my reading journal, because I have a portrait journal, in case you didn't know. But we're going to roll this 6-sided die. If it rolls anything larger than a 4, we will start on quadrant 4. If it rolls obviously a 1, 2, or a 3, then we will start on whichever quadrant it rolls onto. So I have this pulled up in front of me so that we can look at it. I actually should have put the board the other way, but that's okay. I'll fix it later because it's going to bother me to be this way. And then I do have a little game piece that I'm using. I have these little like girls that I downloaded a while back, or these little stickers that I downloaded a while back, and that's what I use as like my game piece. I have this little dark romance a game piece. So we're going to roll our die, and we got a 6. Hopefully you can see it. There we go, a 6. So that means we're going to start on quadrant 4. Now I'm trying to remember how Danny said that this works. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to, I think quadrant 4 is physical TBR. I think. Well, maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me go check and see what we're doing here for quadrants, and I'll be right back. Okay, so there are only 3 edges. I said 4. I think the one from last year had 4. So that means that since we have 3 edges, right? We have series, we have physical new release, and physical TBR. So we will be starting on our physical TBR edge. So that's where we're going to be starting. Okay, so we're going to be starting on physical TBR. That is the edge we're going to start on. And so we're going to roll the die and we're going to see where we land. And then I will have to pick a book from my physical TBR based off of the prompt. I hope that makes sense. So roll the die. We're going to roll the die. And we got a 6. So we're going to move 6. I don't know which way we're supposed to move. I guess anyway. Okay, so we'll move this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the one I got was finish a series. So I know what book we're going to read. So the one we got was finish a series. So for this, I'm actually going to be reading Pucking Strong, because I still have 25% of this book to finish, and this will complete a series for me. So Pucking Strong is the 4th book in the Jacksonville Rays series. This is book, like I said, book number 4. There's a bunch of like novellas and shorts that go in between, but this is the 4th full-length novel, and it is the last book to date. So like I said, I'm about 75% through this book, and I just haven't had a chance to pick it back up. So we are actually going to read this one, and I'm actually really excited because this is a physical book on my TBR that needs to be completed. So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to finish this up. I will probably read this on my Kindle because I do rereads of these and annotate them later. The other books are already annotated, except Pucking Around. Well, actually, I think the only one that's actually fully annotated is Pucking Sweet, but I need to do the rest of them. But I want to finish this one and then go back and annotate all of the rest of the books. So we're going to finish this. This one is following Teddy. Is it Hendrik? Yes, Teddy and Henrik. Henrik is the hockey player. I almost said football. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Henrik Carlson is the forward for the Jacksonville Rays, and Teddy Hamilton. What am I talking about? Teddy Hamilton is an ice skater. Anyway, Teddy O'Connor is what is he? A basic physical trainer? Yeah, physical trainer. Physical therapist for the team. Okay, I love them. This is the first male-male romance that we've had, and we love this couple. So I'm going to finish this one. That is going to be my Kindle read because I do not have an audiobook for this book. I'm not doing audios for them. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to actually spin my TBR wheel for the month, and we're going to see what we can get for an audiobook. So when I finish this, then we will try to fit on an arc. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any ALCs for arcs. I only have ebook arcs. And so because of that, I do not really have anything that I can do audiobook wise for arcs. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to spin the wheel. And we're going to hope that I can find whatever we land on this wheel as an as an audiobook once I finish The Last Mrs. Parrish tomorrow. So let's go ahead and spin. Okay, so we got Death Trap by, who is this by? M.W. Phillips, something like that. This is I will pop up the picture, but this is a true crime novel. So I'm going to see if I can find this one as an audiobook. If I cannot, then I will come back and we will spin for a different book for an audio, and I will just pick this one up after I'm done with the rest. But I'm going to actually look really quick and see if I can find this one as an audiobook. Some of them are audios and some of them are not, so I never know like how it's going to work out for me as far as audios go. Let me actually go look and see who this book is by, because I don't ever remember the author. Now, I do like this author. He, like I said, he's a true crime author. He's done some ID Discovery shows, like he's been on some ID Discovery shows, and I really do like him on those as well. I believe this was a book that was picked as like an owned ebook or something. M. William Phelps. Okay. M. William Phelps. Let's see if we can find Death Trap. Actually, what if we do it this way? Watch it be one that I can only get on Audible, which I'm not buying any Audible books, so. Okay. It does not look like my library has it because it wants me to do the notify me thing. But let's check Hoopla and see if they have it. It pops up as like a book that my library that you can like request. So sometimes when I request books through my library, they will actually get them, which is always so great and cool, but sometimes they won't. So it's kind of hard sometimes to know what they'll have and what they want. Oh, okay, so I found it on Hoopla. Great. So I found Death Trap on Hoopla. So I'm going to borrow that. That is going to be our audiobook. And then Pucking Strong is going to be our physical read after I finish. Well, this will be our physical read. I'll probably actually pick this up tonight. But I am going to finish The Last Mrs. Parrish. Now, I'm probably going to do the last 25 minutes of my reading tonight at reading The Last Mrs. Parrish because I'm actually really sucked into that book. I do see where people are saying that they feel like it was a ripoff of Frida. No, I'm sorry, that Frida McFadden ripped this book off. I am seeing where people are saying that now. I wasn't at first just because I felt like the books were completely different in like the nature of like what we were reading. But the longer that I read, the more that I do understand it. But I am really enjoying it. And honestly, I still did really enjoy The Housemaid. Come for me if you want. I probably will continue this series because I believe there's a second book called The Next Mrs. Parrish. And I'm intrigued enough that as long as the ending of this one is not really dumb, I will continue with the second book. But I grabbed Death Trap. It is an 11-hour and 35-minute audiobook. And yeah, I'm really excited for that. Not excited. I don't know. That's the wrong use of words because it is a true crime book. So this book is about a loving father and his new wife. It says a loving father and his new wife set out to pick up his kids for a scheduled weekend visit, but never suspected they were walking into a death trap. A handwritten note instructed Alan and Tara Bates to enter the back door of his ex-wife's Alabama home. A day later, their charred bodies were found hundreds of miles away, wrapped in blankets in a burned-out car's trunk on a desolate Georgia road. At Jessica McCord's house, law enforcement officials found windows covered in blankets, a cache of weapons and ammunition, carpets torn up, new tile on the floor, and the couch missing. Then they learned about the nasty divorce and bitter custody battle that had landed Jessica in jail. Along with her new police officer husband, Jessica became the prime suspect in this brutal double murder. And I do believe that on the front cover of the book, it says something about like, or maybe it's in the synopsis. I don't remember, but it says somewhere like, Jessica got everything she wanted, including murder or something like that. So really excited to read this one. I feel like this is one that I bought like 10 or 12 years ago. It says that it was published in like 2013 or something. So I bought it a long time ago and I feel like it's just one that I never picked up. I went through a really huge like reading true crime spree for a while where I was just, the way I was consuming my true crime was through books. I tend to watch true crime shows now, but that's fine. I need to read down the books that I own. So we're going to finish Pucking Strong. That is to finish a series off of my physical TBR. And then we are going to read Death Trap. We're going to listen to that. But I am going to finish The Last Mrs. Parrish, hopefully by tomorrow. Like I said, I have about 25 minutes left to read tonight. So I will do the rest of my 45 minutes of my second thing tonight with my eyes, reading The Last Mrs. Parrish, and then tomorrow I will do my first 45 minutes of the morning. I will probably do it like I did this morning. I got up this morning and I sat down to Diamond Paint and I listened to 45 minutes of the audiobook, and that's probably just what we're going to do. And then as soon as I finish that audiobook, we will pick up Death Trap. So that is where we are, friends. I'm gonna go, and I will see y'all tomorrow for day 4. Hello, friends. Welcome to days 5 and 6 of 75 booked. So let's talk about what I read yesterday. I have not actually read anything yet today, so there's that. But I am going to pick up a book here in a little while. I actually probably am going to read while I eat lunch today. I don't usually do that, but I'm thinking I might do that today. But let's go over what I read yesterday. So I did end up reading both sessions with my eyes yesterday. So I read 18 pages for my first session, and then I read another 38 pages for my second session. So I will say this, I am a slow reader. However, depending on what I am reading is dependent on how quickly I read. So I was reading Pucking Strong, but my first session I did read at physical therapy. So there's a little more distraction when I'm at physical therapy because people are talking to me or I have to stop reading for a second to do something. But I do ultrasound for the first half of physical therapy, and so I am just kind of sitting in a chair. However, my physical therapist does sometimes like to talk to me, and I'm not necessarily going to pause. I will keep reading while we're talking. But because of that, it is a little bit more distracting. So I did read 18 pages of Pucking Strong at physical therapy, and then I read another 38 pages once I got home for my second session. I am probably going to finish this book out today. I'm hoping. I don't know for sure that that's what's going to happen, but I'm kind of praying that that's what's that is what happens. Because I have only about 10% left of the book. I have about this much left of the book. And so I'm hoping that I can get this done today. So if I don't get it done in my first session, I'll definitely get it done in my second. But I will finish this today, and then we will be rolling again for the game board and picking a book based off of that. And then I do have my audiobook. I also really would like to get The Last Mrs. Parrish done. So I'm trying to decide when I'm going to listen to that. I did not listen to that at all yesterday. I do want to get it done. So I'm thinking that I may finish Pucking Strong and try to finish this in my first session, and then read The Last Mrs. Parrish in my second session. But I'm about to go make lunch, so I'm going to go do that, and then I will come back and we will check in and see where we are as far as reading and go from there. So I'll be back after I at least do my first session, because I really do hope I can finish this in my first session, but we will see. I'm not a super fast reader, but we'll see how it goes. So I will be back after I have finished my first 45 minutes for day 6. Hello, friends. Good morning. It is day 7 and of 75 booked, and tomorrow is my birthday. So will I update tomorrow? I do not know. But I wanted to come in because I did finish Pucking Strong. So I want to talk about it here so that I have kind of a... what am I trying to say? I want to have a digital review of this book, but I'm also going to write my review in my reading journal. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. So I started this book on release day, which was in August. I believe it was August 27th of 2025. And I just finished it. Okay. I just finished it. Last night. So November 6th. Okay. So I finished this last night, and this was all that I read for the last 2 days. So
for my 2 45-minute sessions on day 5 and my 2 45-minute sessions on day 6. All I read was this book. That's all I read. We'll also talk about the book that I started, because I did read a little bit of Love Arranged, but we're going to talk about this book first. So this is the 4th full-length novel in the Jacksonville Rays series. We are following Teddy and Henrik. They all call each other by their last names, so it screws me up. But yes, we're following Teddy O'Connell and Henrik Carlson. Henrik is a hockey player on the Jacksonville Rays team. He is from Sweden. Teddy is, or he was a, he was an intern originally for the Jacksonville Rays as an intern as like a physical therapist. And then this is 6 years after he was an intern. So we originally meet Teddy in Pucking Around.
Hello, friends. It is day 9, last day of 75 booked for this vlog. So let's talk about where we've been. So yesterday was my birthday. I've not actually read anything for pages for today, so we're just going to talk about the rest of the pages I read for day 6, the pages I read for day 7, and then the pages I read for the day 8, which was yesterday. I will probably come in and do like a final closeout before the end of the day for this vlog, but I wanted to come in and talk really quick because I didn't update at all yesterday, simply because it was my birthday and I didn't really feel like updating. So I believe the last time I updated was day 7, but I don't remember if I went over the rest of the pages that I read for day 6. So for day 6, which one of the books is already put away, so I'm not going to go grab it, but I finished Pucking Strong. So in total, on day 6 with Pucking Strong, I ended up finishing that book out at 22 pages. No, I'm sorry. I read a lot of pages this day. Okay, so I read 41 pages. Yeah, I read a lot of pages on this day. So I read 41 pages for my first thing, my first 45 minutes. So I'm going to actually add these up with you guys sitting here. So we read, 41 pages, and then I finished the book out with 22 pages left. And then, so my first 45 minutes was 41 pages. My second 45 minutes was, I think I put this in wrong. I don't know. Was 22 pages. I read them very quickly. The end of the book really was done. That last 22 pages only took me around 30 minutes, I think, to finish out. Unless I'm looking at the wrong date. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I ended up reading a lot this day. Like, I did read for the 45 minutes, but I ended up reading a lot more pages than I usually do. And then I read 35 pages. So in total, on the 6th, I read... oh, no. I'm sorry. 41 plus 22 plus 39. Because I read a bunch. We had a lot of running around to do. So I ended up reading a total of 102 pages. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. With my 45 minutes, I start and stop the timer if I'm not reading. And the reason I do this is because I have other things during the day that I have to do. So we did start Love Arranged, and I read 7% of this on the 6th when I started it, because I wanted to start it as quickly as possible. That was kind of where I was with this book. So that is what we read for the 6th. For the 7th, which would have been Friday, I don't remember if I came in and updated or not. I'd have to look. But Friday is kind of a weird day for me because we go grocery shopping. We do a lot of end-of-week things for Friday, but I did end up reading 35 pages, so I'm just focusing on Love Arranged at this moment. We're going to talk about The Last Mrs. Parrish because I've not finished it. So, we read 35 pages for the first section and 24 pages for the next. So in total, I read 59 pages for the 7th. I will say that for the 6th, the reason that I read so many pages is because I kept starting and stopping, but that last piece, that last, like, I don't know, it was like 4%, I think, of Pucking Strong. I talked about the book in pretty good depth, but that first section of that, it really just went quickly, you know? Okay, and then for day 8, which was my birthday, I also read Love Arranged, and I did read quite a bit yesterday. Like, I'm not halfway through. It looks like I haven't made a dent at all, friends, but it's fine. So for my first 45 minutes, I read 28 pages, and for my second 45 minutes, I read 22 pages, which brought us to a total of 50 pages for the day. So that is kind of where we are. I'm hoping that in doing this challenge, it helps with how quickly I read. I don't know if it will. But for this first week of 75 booked, we have completed a book, and I'm hoping to finish The Last Mrs. Parrish. So let's talk about that. So on Wednesday, since Wednesday, I have done, and today is Sunday, I have done no audiobooking at all. And I think it's because I tend to do audiobooking when I'm at my house, like sitting here diamond painting or doing chores, and I've been out of the house a lot this week. So I'm hoping to get back into audiobooking next week, but I do want to finish The Last Mrs. Parrish, so I think I'm actually going to finish it tonight, because I film my coffee and book chats on Sunday evenings, and then they go up on Monday mornings, and I would like to include it in this week's coffee and book chat. So I'm hoping that I will get to finish The Last Mrs. Parrish. I don't have very much longer, and I've read nothing today. I think I actually only have about an hour and a half. So I think what I'm going to do for my reading today, as far as my 45 minutes, is I am going to allow myself to read the rest of The Last Mrs. Parrish. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just go ahead and be like, all right, well, we're going to read the rest of The Last Mrs. Parrish, and I'm going to allow myself to do audiobooks for the rest of the night. For today's reading sessions. I know that my rules said no, only one session could be audiobooks, but since I've done the last 3 days without any audio, I'm going to reward myself. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to finish Last Mrs. Parrish, and then we will come back to Love Arranged. Now, I do think that I'm kind of going to stick to this one until I'm done with it. I'm hoping it won't take me another week. I am actually getting through it a lot faster than I thought, but I think it's because I'm dedicating an hour and a half, right? An hour and a half a day, but 45-minute sessions. And I think that's what works the best for me. So I think this will be a thing that I carry into my normal reading habits. I'm thinking about bumping my reading up to an hour during the week. And the reason is because I think I will get more read if I do that. So instead of doing 45 minutes on the weekdays, I think I'm going to bump it up to an hour on the weekdays and 45 minutes on the weekends. Weekends are just a little bit harder for me to read because Ari is home and I have other things that I have to do during the weekend. But I can always fit in an hour and a half. It's a little harder sometimes to fit in a full dedicated hour, but I think we might bump it up. But I'll let you know for sure if I'm going to do that for next week or not. If I do, basically I'm going to have to change my little graphic. But I think I might bump it up to hour-long reading sessions Monday through Friday. But I don't know. We're going to probably do another week of just 45 minutes and see. Because I definitely can read more if I want to. It's just about tracking the actual sessions. I hope that makes sense. And a lot of times I do a session in the morning and a session at night. That's what I've been doing. And so in doing a session in the morning for 45 minutes and then a session at night for 45 minutes, that makes it a little bit easier to keep up with. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to go put this down. I'm going to go listen to the rest of The Last Mrs. Parrish for day 9. And then I'll be back, I guess, to close out this vlog, which will go up, well, the Friday after what you're seeing. It's fine. It's all on the calendar if you want to see the calendar. But I will be talking more about some of these books in my Coffee and Book Chat, because that comes out, well, when you see this, it'll already be out. So, yeah. But I'm going to go. Thank you for listening, and I will be back when I have finished The Last Mrs. Parrish. Hi, friends. I'm here to close out this week's vlog. So, a few things that will be changing for next week for 75 Booked. Before we go over the stats for the first 9 days, is I'm not going to be doing necessarily vlog style. It will be kind of vlog style, but I'm thinking that I'm going to just sit down and film an update for you, as opposed to vlog style, but we'll kind of see how that works out for next week. I do think that I may have to up my 45-minute reading sessions, and the reason is because I tend to read longer than 90 minutes a day. I tend to read closer to 2 hours a day, and so I'm wondering if maybe I should up it, but we'll see what I choose to do next week. So what I did for this first 9 days is I stuck very diligently to my 45 minutes a day. So let's talk about that. So one of my rules was that only one session could be audiobook, and I did stick to that for the first 2 days. So on November 1st, because I only have on my weekly spread the 3rd through the 9th. So I'm looking at a different weekly spread, and then we're going to combine the pages all together. I hope that makes sense. So for the first day, I read 52 pages across the 2 times, like across the 2 times. So I read 15% of The Last Mrs. Parrish, which I started at page 0. And I read, or I think, yeah, and I read, no, I didn't. I started at page 40. I started at page 40. So on November 1st, I read 15%. I read 15% of The Last Mrs. Parrish, which was 20 pages. So I did that. That was my first 45 minutes. And then my second 45 minutes, I read 32 pages of The Last Mrs. Parrish in 45 minutes. Now, these were both, because eventually it changes to where I'm audiobooking The Last Mrs. Parrish. This was before I started this book as an ebook, and then I lost my hold. So there was that, or not my hold, but my checkout. And so I ended up checking out the audiobook on Hoopla. We'll talk about when that changed, because then I switched it to 1 audio a day. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Then on the 2nd, I read 36 pages of The Last Mrs. Parrish for my first 45 minutes. And then I read 52 pages for my second round. Then we get into November 3rd. I read 48 pages for my first 45 minutes and 24 pages for my second. This was a total of 72 pages of The Last Mrs. Parrish. For day 4, I read 60 pages of The Last Mrs. Okay, so let me reiterate. I'm sorry. For the first session for The Last Mrs. Parrish, I listened to the audiobook, and for the second session, I read with my eyeballs, because I was going to try to finish The Last Mrs. Parrish on the 3rd, because I lost my checkout from Libby on that day, but I did not make it. I did not make it, not even close. Then on day 4, so the 4th, I listened to 60 pages of The Last Mrs. Parrish, and I read with my eyes on my Kindle 22 pages of Pucking Strong, which was a total of 82 pages for the day. On day 5, I read 18 pages of Pucking Strong for my first 45 minutes and 33 pages for my second, and I read a total of 51 pages for that day. Now this was a Wednesday. This was last Wednesday. So this was the day I made it to my appointment very early. So I ended up reading my physical therapy appointment. I was there very early. So my brother gave me a ride that morning. So I ended up being there for like an hour. And I spent most of that time reading. So I did use timers for that for 45 minutes. Then on Thursday the 6th, so day 6, I read 41 pages of Pucking Strong for my first session. My second session was split into 2 books. I read 22 pages of Pucking Strong and finished it. That was all I had left. And then I picked up Love Arranged, which I read 39 pages of for a total of 102 pages on day 6. On day 7, I read 35 pages of Love Arranged for my first session and 24 pages of Love Arranged for my second session for a total of 59 pages. On day 8, I read 28 pages of Love Arranged for my first session and 22 pages of Love Arranged for my second session for a total of 50 pages. And then on day 9, which was Sunday, I ended up finishing The Last Mrs. Parrish. So I listened to 28 pages of The Last Mrs. Parrish for my first session and 60 pages for my second session, and I ended up finishing it. Now, the reason that this happened is because I was home with Ari this day, and so I kept forgetting to pause my 45-minute timer, so I didn't read as much or listen to as much in the first session as I probably would have, but that's okay. So that was a total of 88 pages for day 9. So that gave me a total of 644 pages for the first 9 days of 75 booked, which I think is really good. I don't think that 644 pages is anything to scoff at, especially because I am a slower physical reader, and I will say that like this book and all, which is Love Arranged, and also Pucking Strong, were not small by any stretch, and I think almost halfway through this one at this point, so hopefully I will finish it next week. But that is all I wanted. I just wanted to come in and give the stats for the week, and yeah, we're going to continue with the little list that I have. Once I finish Love Arranged, I'm hoping next week, then we will roll for another book for Bucket Listathon. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you somewhere very soon on the internet. Bye!